Welcome to Inspired Living with Carrie Murphy, the podcast, where as your host each and every week, I am going to inspire you and empower you to share your message and step into that big vision you see for yourself. I'll be bringing you celebrity interviews, influencer insights, and my personal tips from decades as an on-camera talent, TV host, media expert, and entrepreneur, so you can build a brilliant seven-figure brand. Because when you're inspired, you inspire others. So let's go. If you are looking to grow and scale your business, whether it's a brick and mortar, one of those actual like in-person establishments or online, this interview with Stacy Tuschl is a must listen to. It's a bookmark that you're going to have to keep going back to, because in this interview, Stacy shares so many great insights on how she built a business that she started at 18 into a multi-seven-figure business she still has today. Building a business before there was Facebook and Instagram and social media. She shares with us the principles that she used to build her very successful brick and mortar that made it through the pandemic and is still striving today. And also talked about the parallels with how you take those principles and adapt them into the online space. Throughout this whole interview, I was at the edge of my seat, just like, amen, yes, talking about going narrow instead of going wide and stop trying to please everyone. Stacy's an international best-selling author. She has so many accolades. Check out her bio, but I want you to get out a piece of paper or get out your phone so you can take copious notes, because this interview with Stacy Tuschl is a must listen. Stacy, I'm so happy to have you on the show today. I have been looking forward to this time with you.
Me too. I'm excited. It's fun when it's just like chatting with a girlfriend.
Yes.
Like that's so much better.
I am with you. And that is what we're doing today. It's funny because I've known you for a little while now and I know what you do. And yet I'm reading through your bio like, damn. Like, I didn't know that. I did not know. And I think maybe I had a little glimpse of knowing, but that you actually started the business that is like your super, super crazy, wildly successful business now at 18 in the back of your parents' yard. Is that true? Or is that just bio myth?
Yeah. But like, wait, what did we write in there?
I know.
No, it is true. So that summer I graduated high school. I was actually still 17. I have a really late August birthday, and still 17, about to turn 18, started what I thought was just a hobby and something for fun that then turned into, wow, people really like this. Maybe this could be a business. So that first summer I had 17 dancers come to my parents' backyard. Wow. And then within 3 years we had 100. And this was no marketing.
How big was their backyard?
We actually have a decent sized backyard. It was actually a side yard, not even the backyard, but it goes good in the bio as the backyard.
Right.
But no, it's funny because my parents were always just very supportive, and the school was getting renovated my senior year. So they kicked the dance team out of the school and we had to practice outside. And we're like, listen, if we're going to practice outside, like we have to find a better place to practice, because there was just construction everywhere at the school. And I was the captain and I said, hey, feel free to come. My parents said we could have practice every day here at my backyard. And we became the house. And then all of a sudden I graduate. I'm like, hey, can I keep the backyard for my other hobby? And I want to start teaching middle schoolers. And I mean, who knew like how that would turn into what it is? So today, this is 19 years ago now.
Yeah.
We have 2 performing arts academies, 50, 60-ish employees, 2 custom facilities we built for the dance and music schools, 1,000 kids. I mean, it's just grossing, 7 figures a year, many years in a row. It's crazy.
And that's just one business, because you have a whole nother one too.
Yes. So yeah, that's the first business. And then maybe like 10 years ago, and maybe earlier, and I just didn't even catch it, I would get the local karate shop to say, hey, could I pick your brain? Could we sit down? We're kind of in a similar industry. And then a dance mom called up and said, hey, I'm thinking about starting a chocolatier, like a retail shop for chocolate. Can I ask you some questions? I'm like, okay, just like all these random things. And then, after it kept happening over and over, I thought, okay, I could probably start consulting. And I think I got that confidence built up because they were really going, wow, like I didn't know this.
Yeah.
And then it was building my confidence of, wow, I maybe have learned a few things over the last decade or two, and this is helpful for people. Yeah. So that's kind of what birthed Foot Traffic, which is now my consulting business online.
I just am so in love with this story. At 17, 18, you had this idea to like, how can I help? Right? How can
Mhm.
where can we have these practices? What was it when you graduated? The thought of I'm going to teach students now,
Yeah.
middle school students, and how did you get those students? Now we're going back 19 years where
Yes.
social media wasn't around. Did
Nope.
you go to each school? Did you hand out flyers? How did you know what to charge? Like, I
Yeah.
just want to know, like, what was your beginner's mind like then?
Yes, for sure. Cause I mean, really, you're right. Social media did not exist. I mean, it was not a thing. I just got a phone, which is even crazier because I was young and cell phones weren't even really a thing. So
Yeah.
when I graduated that summer, I didn't even have a phone until September when I was off to college. So it's like I didn't even have a cell phone, let alone social media, and we're building this business. So I have a half sister who had a cousin in middle school. So that's kind of where I'm like, Dream 100, who do I know? Right. I don't know middle schoolers. So I'm like,
Yeah.
who do I know? Okay, my sister has this cousin who's a dancer and she's on the middle school dance team. How do I get her a flyer to
Yeah.
pass to her friends? So I just had one person that I knew that then turned around and said, hey, and then I had credibility of I was the high school dance team captain. So I had a little bit of credibility in their mind. Like, let's be real,
Right.
I was not even
I
that
mean,
great of a
come on though,
dancer.
for a middle school student,
That was
that's pretty
cool,
big.
right?
That's
Like
pretty
the
cool.
senior captain
Yeah,
wants
that's
you on
pretty
her
cool.
team.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was a little bit of credibility to at least to my person. And then it was who's my connection? Who do I not just get one person, but who do I get that knows other people? And that was it. It was that girl posted the flyers and I met at the community center. 17 parents came with their kids and auditioned.
Okay. Now let's just hold up here because we're in this like online mayhem space, which
Yeah.
I happen to love, right? But we're talking about tactics that you did how many years ago? 19 years ago?
19. Yeah.
That still work today. And you said something that you and I know, but other people might have
Mhm.
said like, "What?
Yeah.
Dream 100."
Yes.
What is that?
So it's you're going to work just as hard to get one client, or you can do that same whatever you're going to pour into it, where that person is connected with lots of different people, right? So even right now, me being on your podcast, let's say I wanted to sell you something, Carrie. Well, me talking just to you is one sale. Me getting on your podcast to how many people listening opens up a wider reach, right?
Right.
You don't know how many it's going to bring, but it's going to be more than just that one-on-one. So a Dream 100, I mean, there's so many ways to do Dream 100, but it really is, where are my ideal clients hanging out? And who is the connector that's going to put me in front of them? And at that moment, it was an eighth grade middle school dancer.
AKA referral affiliate marketing.
Yes. Yeah. With no affiliate at the time.
No,
But
I
now it's
know.
like, oh man, if I would have been like, and by the way, the winner's going to get an iPad or whatever was, it's
Imagine
like,
what those students would do for you now,
oh my
Stacy.
goodness.
Hey, this
Yeah.
is a whole nother marketing arm for you now, right?
Yeah.
For the
Yeah.
schools that you have.
Oh, wow.
And the
Yeah.
reason why I think this is such a relevant conversation is because when you're in a place where you're growing your business and you're just starting out,
Hmm.
everyone thinks I just have to go live on Instagram and my business is going to grow, or I
Yeah.
just have to be visible, which of course I believe is incredibly important.
Hmm.
But to go back through and compile that list of who do I know? Who can I get in front of? To this day, Stacy, wouldn't you say
Yeah.
like it's still all about
Oh,
relationships?
100%. I mean, it will never. I actually just spoke at an event this morning and it was a networking event for people to go and chat with other business owners. That will never go away. It just amplifies what's happening now. And if anything, we just do it way more because we can do it virtually as well as in person.
Mhm.
But it really is. I mean, they say like it's who you know, right?
Yeah.
It really is.
So fast forward, you have, is it two brick and mortars?
Now I have two locations, yes. But
Okay,
I
two
had the first
locations.
one for probably at least a decade before I started the second one.
I love it so much. Growing up in dance and entertainment, I know
Yeah.
how important those
Mhm.
facilities are to young and old. But
Yeah.
so you've built out this team, you have about 50 employees, multi seven-figure business, and now you have this online business you've had for a decade, right? Where
Mhm.
and what I love too is that you were listening to what people were asking you and created a solution to that problem. And for so many of us, that's why we get into business because we have a
Mhm.
solution to someone else's problem. My question for you, Stacy, is
Yeah.
now looking at this, kind of this brick and mortar and the online, is the marketing and the services, like, do you feel like it's the same? Because I work with a lot of clients
Yeah.
that are doctors, attorneys, realtors, lawyers. They have the brick and mortar. And then, as we know, with 2020 behind us, a lot of people have moved to virtual. So
Yeah.
what do you see is the main difference when it comes to getting the ideal client in the door?
Yes. So I really think we assume being a lawyer has nothing to do with the thing now you're doing online, right? I came into this not sharing my experience, not telling people I had dance studios because I thought they might actually see that as a disadvantage.
Hmm.
When it's so the same, the business principles, the foundations are the same. It
Yeah.
really is. So when I look at what in the beginning of my online business, I'm like, why isn't this working? And then I would look at, well, what's working in the studios or what has worked for me in the studios? I just kept pulling the principles that were working and I started implementing them in the online space and it was clicking. So
So
I
what were some of
think,
those principles, Stacy?
yeah. So, okay. So, one, I was experiencing the feast or famine of, shoot, this month is great. Next month is not.
Who
Like
can
just,
relate to that,
yeah,
right?
ups
Yeah.
and downs. I'm like, why don't I don't have this in my studio? Like, what is the difference? And the difference was we don't just have buy one thing and you're done. It's are you signing up and you're on a reoccurring, we have the credit card and we're charging you the 15th of the month every month and you can cancel it anytime, but we have your credit card and it's a commitment. Whereas online, I'm like, oh wait, I'm selling one-off products. I'm like a
Mm,
one and done type shop. So I'm like, well, that
yeah.
has to stop. So we immediately said, how do we create reoccurring revenue over here? That was a game changer for our consistent.
Genius, by the way. Genius.
Well, and it's so funny because it took me a while to realize that was the problem. Because I'm
Mhm.
like, what? Like, I'll never forget my first launch ever, which comes back to who do I know? Because I didn't have an email list, I didn't have anything. So I reached out to my dance mentor and I said, hey, I'm going to create a productivity course. Do you think your audience would like this? We could sell it on a webinar together. I'll do all the work and you can take 50% of the commission. And she said, sure.
Yeah, I'll
So
do that. Sure.
yep.
Yeah.
So again, who do I know? I didn't know anybody at the time, but I had this mentor who had a list of business owners. And I had a product that was complementary, not competitive. And I had credibility in her eyes because I was one of her star students. So we put this on. We together make $11,000 in this one webinar. And I was so excited. And in my head, it was like, this is it. I'm going to make, $10,000 months every single month. And the next month I made $0. Like, oh, shoot, this is not what
Now,
I
did you
thought.
do the webinar again or no?
Okay, Carrie, I'm embarrassed to tell you, I never did it ever again, ever. And I never went back to her ever again.
Because it worked so badly.
Because in my mind, I thought, well, I already did that. So what's next? It wasn't in
Mm.
even the mentality of, I just need to rinse and repeat this.
Isn't
It
that
was
so
like,
crazy?
it is. I like poor Stacy. Like, what were you thinking, honey? Like,
Yeah.
I want to go back to me like 6, 7 years ago, whenever that was, and just like, no, no, no. You massage this relationship. Like, you go back and you figure out how you're going to do it again and make even more money, or you know, like there's just so much I could have done that I just didn't do.
Okay, this is one of those moments where I need you to stop what you're doing and write down, rinse and repeat, right? Because I will say, Stacy, I say the same thing. Like, oh, poor Carrie. Like you did something once, you got a great result, and you're like, okay, great, let's do it again.
Yeah,
Or vice versa. You do something once and you don't get a great result and you abandon ship. But I would
100%.
say from this perspective now, and I know that you can say this as well,
Yeah.
that the rinse and repeating really works better than the one and done.
That's probably the
you know?
biggest takeaway you could ever take away from anything, because you know what I had? I had this full sense of what I should be getting online. What I'm hearing
Mhm.
six-figure launches and $1 million this. So I'm thinking $11,000, that's nothing. Like,
Yeah.
no, like I wanted six figures. So I kept abandoning thinking this isn't working. And then when I realized, I started to interview a lot of people on my podcast and I would start to, pick my friends' brains and, be in masterminds. And I started to hear that the $1 million membership was like 7 people 3 years ago, month one, paying $19 a month. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I have two unrealistic expectations. And I thought this was overnight. And they're telling me they've been rinsing and repeating every month for the last 3 years. And now it's $1 million. And as soon as I understood that, I was like, game over. We're rinsing and repeating. We're selling one product. We're going to have the same launch and we're just going to do it over and over and over. And all of a sudden, what do you know?
What do you know? But
Million
that's so
dollar
not how our
the
brain
business,
works.
right?
And I so
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that because I know there's a listener, someone watching right now that so feels inadequate
Yeah.
because they're not having that 6-figure launch, or, they're having little wins, but that's where you start in the beginning. And yet this culture we live in right now is like, well, if you're not doing 6-figure launches, and you're not doing
Yeah.
anything. And so
Mhm.
it all starts with the $19 membership. And really, if you think
Right.
about it, Stacy, you did the
Yeah.
same thing with your studio, right? You didn't have them sign up for an $11,000 or $20,000 program,
Right.
right? You had them sign up for classes every month.
Yeah.
And that built upon that. And I'm sure you've had people with you for years because
Yeah.
they love the facility. And it really is the same thing virtually online.
100%.
But we
And
don't
it's
think that way, do we? We
no,
don't.
we don't. And I did this in the brick and mortar. It was like, oh, I want to scale. I need more. I need more types of classes. I need more levels. I need more locations. We need more teachers, right? So a lot of times we think it's just more and different. And when you now looking back, we've actually canceled and gotten rid of certain classes and taken certain things off the schedule. And we've never been more successful. And it really is like getting tighter, like really going deeper versus just casting that wide net.
First of all, I have to tell you, I am so in love with you right now because this conversation, man, if I had this conversation with someone 10 years ago where someone could have said to me, Carrie, like, stop trying to do, like, as I say to everyone, like, stop
Yeah.
trying to catch the ocean, like, stop trying to put this big net out and serve everybody, and figure out what you do really well and go
Mhm.
deeper. And even right now, I'm looking at all that we offer, and we are literally being like, we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing
Yeah.
that anymore. We've over, like, this isn't on brand for our message anymore. We're getting rid of that because your experience, your story, I think, is what every entrepreneurs go through when they're experiencing success. Is
Mhm.
I need to add more
Yes.
instead of adding more, like deeper instead of wider. And I
Yeah.
will say it's just natural because you're
Yeah.
like, oh, well, I want to add different types of classes. I'm going to do African dance and tap dance and hula dance. And
Yes.
before you know it, it's like, guess
Literally, we
what?
had
Now we're
African
tap.
dance, like 100%. Like we brought in African, we brought in like the specialty. It's like the money maker is not African dance. Like
Right.
it's a fun thing. We could maybe do it as a workshop, but my mind was we're gonna do all the things. We're gonna be everything to everybody. And we were just making things up on the spot. You'd call and he'd be like, "Yes, we offer that. Oh yeah, we have. Oh no problem." And then I'd be like figuring out a teacher for Saturday morning to.
Irish dance, check. Like,
Yes.
like, yes, whatever.
Oh, it's not just when you're successful you think you need more. It's when you're not successful, you think the reason is because you don't have enough or you don't offer
Ah,
enough. So then you even
yes.
do it when you aren't in a level you want to be.
Yeah. I just think it's part of being a visionary,
It
and
is.
the idea of I need to do something new all the time. And
Mhm.
I really, and again, we both can attest to this, that it's really doing what you do well time and time again, and creating a brand and message around that, that people start to
Mhm.
seek you out. Because when you're offering too much, a confused mind says no, and they
Yeah.
don't know why you're the one that can help them. So this lesson alone, my friend who is listening right now, is worth its weight in gold. Literally, gold in your bank account. Because when you niche it and you get deeper, you will see such greater results. So let's talk about that, Stacy, a little bit more. So you've built the business to where it is right now. I'm assuming for 19 years that
Yeah.
the brick and mortar is pretty plug and play for you. Like, do you feel like that's pretty a
Yes,
well-oiled machine?
that's what I call it. It's a well-oiled machine. Now, I had never gone through a pandemic, so we unfortunately did
Yes.
not have pandemic systems in
Yeah.
place. But my
So what did you
team,
do? Because
yeah,
it's in person. Did you move everything online? Did you
yeah.
coach it?
So I think one of my really big advantages is I'm a pretty well-rounded entrepreneur, right? Like if you looked at other dance studio owners, they are
That's
really
all they
good
do.
at the dance studio.
Yeah.
So when I heard online and I should say I heard building shut down. I said to my team, let's do Zoom classes on Monday. Okay, this is Friday. And I'm like, let's do Zoom classes on Monday. And I'm not even kidding. My team looked at me, very smart people. My team looked at me and said, what is Zoom? How do we do what is that? And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness, I live on Zoom. It doesn't even cross my mind that somebody doesn't know what Zoom was. We forget that Zoom was not a normal thing pre-COVID for the average normal person. So Zoom went from 10 million to 200 million in
Yep.
like a few months when
Yep.
COVID hit.
That
So you're
statistic is
talking
staggering. Like, wish you had
mainstream.
stock in Zoom.
Yeah, I mean 10 million to 200 million. I always feel bad when everybody like rips on Zoom for like having problems. I'm like, guys, could you even imagine going from 10 million users to 200 million users in a very short period of time?
Yeah.
But anyway, no one knew what Zoom was or how to use it. So I was like, listen, I will be there. And I don't normally work in the building, but I was like, I will be there Sunday night. I'm going to stay there until every single person feels confident on Zoom, knows how to use it, knows how to hit record, knows how to save it, all the things. So because I knew video, I jumped on. I mean, we didn't miss a beat. Classes ended Friday, virtual lessons started Monday. Whereas my other studio competitors, they just didn't have classes for the 2 weeks. I thought they were going to be closed. And in my mind, I'm like, I can't even afford to reimburse I don't want to have to
Yeah.
reimburse for
Reimburse,
2 weeks. Well, their mind, everybody believed we were coming back. So because they thought it's just 2 weeks, we'll be fine. We'll credit them. We'll do this. And then it turned into for us March through June, it was a pretty big time that we were shut down. So for me, I definitely had to get back in. I'm the strategist. I'm the visionary. I am like the marketer of how do we do this and how do we grow. So I definitely had to get back in there a little bit. However, it did shine a light on our weaknesses. And I think the thing I saw was I'm the visionary
Mhm.
and I needed to have a visionary there to really replace me. And I never had it because we were just so well oiled that we didn't need it.
Right.
So
Sure.
we actually just hired in the last month or so a full-time marketing director. So she is basically now working with me. I'm jumping in basically once a week to train her. So a year from now, we've got a visionary. We know
Yeah.
somebody who knows our numbers, who's going to be really focused on marketing and all of that. So, it just made us even stronger. And it was challenging, but we did it. We're here. We're doing
Yeah.
better than ever. And oh man, it's been a
Whew.
crazy,
I
crazy
tell
year.
you what. Well, first of all,
Yeah.
congratulations. And I
Thank you.
think I heard that video saved your business. I'm just
It really,
saying.
it
I'm
really
just
did.
saying. I
It
think
really
you teach
did.
something valuable.
Yeah.
But the fact that
And can I
you,
tell you this too? So I jumped on and I would do every Sunday, I would do a video and then I would shoot out an email with it kind of like transcribed. And it was a weekly email for me I'm talking months. It was like an update from the CEO. And pretty soon my competitors started to copy, but it was like a month later, but they were so bad. I'm so bad. Like it was like piece of paper. Hi,
oh,
everybody. Today
can't
I
do it.
want to, it was so, I'm like,
Don't do it.
no. And
Yeah.
I think for me, I was connecting with people. I teared up a few times. I'm not a crier, but I mean, it was emotional. It was
Yeah.
and I was just grateful and I'm thanking people. And because I wasn't nervous to be on camera, my true emotions came out and people like felt it. They felt like
Yes.
this is a family business. This is like a real person. This isn't like, oh, she can just afford to give everybody our money back for the next 3 months. Like they were really helping me save the business. And then when my competitor saw, oh, this is working for her, I'm going to do it, they just couldn't do it the way we were doing it because I already have gone on video. I can't even tell you how many times.
Yeah, I will tell you that is something to remember as you're building your brand and you're looking at social and what everyone else is doing is that no one can do it the way you can. And when you are
Mhm.
sincere and you're authentic on video, like nothing nothing's better than that.
Yeah.
It's that emotional heartfelt connection, and that's why only 25% of entrepreneurs are using video effectively because they don't
Mhm.
understand that. They're holding the paper and they're thinking in their head. But anyway, great job. I'm
Thank
super
you.
happy for you, and
Thanks.
I'm just so glad that the studios made it because that was a really tough time.
Yeah.
What would you say now as we're into the next year, some other of those principles that maybe you took from the last year and applied it
Mm.
this year? And by
Yeah.
the way, we talk about online. There's a lot of stuff that we do that's like do a free webinar, do a free masterclass, things that we do here at Inspired
Yeah.
Living, but you have a different take on that.
Yeah.
And I would love to talk a little bit about that as well because
Yeah.
it's not one thing fits all.
No, I really think first of all, you have to figure out like who are you? What do you want your business to look like? And what is your client looking for? Who are you trying to attract? All of that. So I think a couple of the principles that I have now seen, and was a good reminder. I already knew a lot of this stuff, but
Sure.
maybe we weren't practicing it. So one I think is never get too comfortable. Like I was very, very comfortable
Mhm.
and I didn't have to be innovative because it was so well oiled.
Yep.
And this really forced us to be innovative. And I think that was oh shoot, I better make sure that I never get comfortable again and that I
Yeah.
always have somebody innovating even when times are amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
That is
So that
so
was
smart.
ugh,
Yep.
that was the first thing.
Yep.
Second was really knowing your numbers, getting as lean as possible. I mean, we cleaned house. Like y- you, if you're an online business, you did not have to do what we did as brick and mortars, right? As a brick and
Right.
mortar, when it hit, I will never forget the day I opened up my credit card, opened up the bank account, and I had to ask every single expense, do we need this? Like this needs to go. I'm talking like dumpster. Why would I need a dumpster? There's nobody in the building. Cancel the dumpster service.
Yeah.
Canva, $9 a month. That sounds so silly. Like, why would a multi-million dollar company cancel $9 a month? We canceled it. We're like, we can get the free version for now. I mean, we had to get
So
so lean
smart.
because we didn't know what we were looking at.
Yeah.
We didn't know how long is this going to be? How many people are going to drop? How long can we sustain this business? Like, what's our run rate if we never bring on another dollar again? Those are things that unfortunately I couldn't just spit out at the top of my head. I had to go find those numbers. And then because we got so lean and we made smart decisions and just smart choices, um, things just got so much better. So we dropped about 25% gross revenues. Okay.
Wow.
However, we are more profitable than ever.
Because you cut a bunch of your expenses that you didn't need.
It's just
Like, it caused
unreal.
you to go through the line sheet, because what happens
Yes.
is when things are just rolling and plug and play, you're like, "Sure, we can keep that subscription. We can do this. We
Nine
can,"
dollars a month. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
We don't use it. It's only $9. Like, just
Yeah.
keep it for now, just in case. I mean, we were just playing this game of like, we're unbreakable. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We're successful. We're 20 years old. Like, we don't need to worry about this stuff. And when we started to play, like, this could all be taken away, game changer. I mean,
Yes.
game changer. We are looking right now, we are heading into summer. And summer for our studio, it's not our in season. It really truly is
Everyone's
off
on
season.
vacation.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
We drop crazy. Our numbers go crazy. And because of that, summer can get real tight. Like by the end of August, we're just like waiting for September 1st to come. And this, I will tell you, in 19 years, this is the best, almost June, I should say, bank account I have ever seen, ever, ever.
Wow.
And it's not because of the revenue coming in, it's because of truly focusing on what is going out. And this could have been us for years, and we just didn't even think about it or
Yeah.
understand. And I just want to remind anybody who's listening, like you probably haven't gone through an audit of what you're spending, but it's just going along and your CPA
Yeah.
doesn't think to say, are you actually using it? Why? Oh, that is the same thing as that. Do you really need two of them?
Mhm.
You
We
know?
just did that actually, and we continue to do it on a quarterly
Yeah.
basis,
Yes.
because it's one thing, of course your revenue is one thing, but your profit is another, right? So
Yeah.
people can say I have a seven-figure business, but you bring in nothing at the end. So smart. Go look at your line items, go do an audit on your bank accounts, and really ask yourself the question, do I
Mhm.
need this? Yeah,
Yeah.
because it is so true. Well, I'll grow into it. I'll use it later.
Well, I mean, you just make up excuses. It's just like the
Yeah.
silliest thing that we do. Or like we had like plan, or sorry, yeah, is it plan? I think we had later and planily. They're like the same thing. We were only using one, but we were paying for both. We're like, what are we? Why are we doing this? Like,
Yeah.
it's just silly, and you think like it doesn't matter. It's only $50. It's only $100. It's only $100 a month. It all
It
adds up.
all adds up. It
Mhm.
sure does. And quicker than you think. That's a whole
Oh
nother
yeah.
podcast. Like, quicker than you think. My goodness. All right. So I want to talk to you about your paid online strategy. I want to talk to you
Yes.
about your new book. I know we only have so much time. We could
Okay.
literally talk for hours, Stacy. But
Yes.
let's talk about the monetization of the online approach that you have that
Yeah.
is actually quite different than what everyone else is doing.
Yes. So, a lot of times you'll see the free trial, the free audit, the freebie, like free lead magnet, right?
Yeah.
And, they definitely were very, very effective in the past and they still are effective. However, they're losing effectiveness. So I'm not saying they don't work. I'm saying that a lot of times, how many times have you opted in for something, grabbed the free download, and immediately unsubscribed right away after you got the download because you don't want to be on somebody's email list, but you
Stacy, I
do
have
want.
never done that. I do not know what you're talking about.
Well, let me tell you, people are doing it to you. Okay. No, I mean, I know it's like we all do it, right?
Yep.
And we start to kind of get even the idea of like, they just want my email. Like, how good is this thing going to even be? Right. And we start to get lower level quality leads, right?
Yep.
So for us, we did this in both the brick and mortar and online. So we do offer free trials, but one thing that we decided to do for one of our top of funnel strategies was $14 for 14 days. So all of a sudden, you get somebody who's actually willing to pull out their credit card and sign up, which just immediately ups the level of the person. So our
Absolutely.
number one way to get new clients for paid traffic, I should say, is our free trial. And with this free trial, the number, if I wish I had my report in front of you, it's just crazy the number of people that will grab the free trial, but never use the free trial, right? They just
Sure.
don't even show up. And
Yeah.
it's because there's just no skin in the game.
Yeah. And honestly,
However,
there's just too much out there. You know, I
yeah,
think it's
for
just like
sure.
content confusion everywhere.
Yep. It's like
Yeah.
grab the coupon code, grab this free thing,
Yep.
grab that free thing. Like, who cares if we use it or not? But at least I have it.
Yep.
And then when we changed to this $14 for 14 days, all of a sudden it's like 99% of the people are showing up in the building. And we know that if you show up in our building, you're converting at like a 99% retention rate as well.
So
So
smart.
we started to say, okay, how do I do this online? Because we're doing the free boot camps, we've got the free lead magnets, we're doing all the things, but obviously we know that show up rates on webinars and all of that just hasn't been as great, or I should say, as it used to be, right? I'm
Right.
talking like 5 years ago, it was obviously better than now. People get more skeptical the longer
Yeah.
these things
Yeah. And there's
last.
a lot more people doing it now than there was
Yes.
5 years ago. So there's
Yeah.
so many options for someone to get something for free, which again, you
Yeah.
and I both know when you get something for free, oftentimes people don't see that as valuable.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we had our free boot camps and we decided what if we charged for this? So we actually started at $17 a boot camp.
And
Now
this
we
is
raise it
cold traffic. Like,
cold
don't know
traffic.
ya at all.
Doesn't know me at all. Cold traffic. We raise it now to 27. We've been doing it at 17 for like 4 or 5 months, every month in a row. 90% cold traffic. The other 10% are previous boot campers that want to come back again.
Hmm.
So they're only, when I say they're the 10% of it's warm, it's only warm of like 30 days or 60 days. It's still
Yeah.
pretty relatively cold. So we started doing these every single month, rinse and repeat since December. We're starting our June one coming up in 2 weeks, and cold every month. So we don't even promote our launches anymore organically. We do it very casually and once in a while, but we don't need to because we're constantly getting our cold people to come in. So our visibility is just skyrocketing. And then on top of that, because we're funding our own Facebook ads, we can
Right.
actually put the money we got back into it. So our last boot camp, I have my whiteboard here. Our last boot camp, we generated $12,000 before we ever sold anything in the boot camp itself. So like that 12,000 funds Facebook ads, right?
Yeah.
So we
Right.
start to be able to expand our reach, but then here's the best part. We have quality people inside of there.
They show up.
Yeah, they show up.
Yeah.
And what's kind of crazy too is, I've been doing 5-day challenges for 4 or 5 years. And they used to be, once in a while you'd see people do it. Now it's like everybody does. I mean, Tony
Everyone's doing a
Robbins, like
challenge. Yep.
everybody's doing the challenge, right? So what happens is sometimes people are registered for 3 challenges in 1 week. The same person is like signing up for all the things. And what happens is now that ours is paid, they're actually coming to ours.
Right.
Because if
Well,
they do,
who you're going to choose, I paid for this one. I better go
right,
to it.
this one's
Yeah.
free, this one
Psychology.
you bought.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. It's more valuable. I paid for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So we're getting higher show up rates. Usually day 1 and then day 2, there's a drop off. Our day 2 gets bigger, which is weird. And I think the reason day 2 gets bigger for us is they maybe catch the replay if they haven't shown up live and they're like, ooh, this is good. And I paid for it. So then day 2, they're there. So our drop off is very minimal. Whereas when it was free, it was like day 1 to day 2 was like 50% drop off. It was just crazy what we would see.
Yeah. So I would think that in this model, you really have to know, of course, who that ideal client is.
Yeah.
And really make sure you're offering something that they see valuable. Now, I would think in anything that you do online, there's great value there. But I've seen people try this too, Stacy, and like nobody has signed up
Yes.
for things. So what do you feel has been your secret sauce per se to
Yeah.
get people to actually enroll and pay?
Yeah. So I think messaging is massive because they don't know me. So my picture doesn't do anything for me. My name doesn't do
Like,
anything for
she's
me.
cute, but
Right, right.
okay.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, who is she? Right. And you
Yeah.
get very little to say inside of these ads. So for us, it's really what is the hook? Like, what are we trying to do here? And we called ours drive more traffic. And it was because it was, so we used to call it like our the foot traffic formula, which means nothing to a cold person. But when we
Right.
say drive more traffic, 99% of small business owners are like, yes, I need more traffic.
Okay, wait a second, because this is really valuable. Because just because we know what we do, like the foot traffic formula,
Yeah.
of course, everyone knows what that is. That's what we do. But to
Yeah.
the cold traffic person, they don't know what the foot traffic formula is.
No.
It a shoe store? Like, what is it? Right?
Really?
Where
Is it a shoe
you're like,
store?
drive more traffic, like
Yes.
as as easy as it gets and
Yeah.
clear as it gets. And I just need everyone to hear this right now, because sometimes we get so engrossed in what we do that we forget to share it in a way that makes sense for the person who's never met you before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really little about me and more about what they want. And that's what gets people to say, yeah, I do. So our sub headline is like 10 free or low cost ways to drive more traffic. So now they get the headline and now it's like, oh, good. It's free. It's like the free strategies so that they also know, like, because what's their objection? Well, how big of a marketing budget do I need to drive traffic?
Right.
So we're
Yeah.
like, oh, no, not with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
Free or low cost. And then again, it's like credibility. Well, I'll put my ass seen on and I'll put a few places to show, like, you don't have to know who I am, but here's a few people that have featured me. Here is my way to kind of like borrow that credibility by you knowing who Forbes is and thinking, okay, well, she's been featured in Forbes. She must know something about something,
Right.
right? And then
God, we
they
hope.
opt in.
Yes.
Yeah, you hope.
Yeah.
And then it's up to us and up to me to come in and deliver the value to keep them there and to
Right.
keep seeding what's tomorrow and, why you should come and what you're going to learn and all of that.
Yeah, I think the great takeaway from this too is that there's no right or wrong. You have to
Right.
figure out your audience, your message, what works, and test and try things.
Mhm.
Try free, try 17, try 27, because we're finding that too with our
Yeah.
membership that we're launching. Like, people are much more inclined when you have a certain, I guess, level of credibility, or quite
Yeah.
frankly, you have something that people really want. They're not going to pay thousands of dollars to sign up for something when they've never met you before, but they will invest 27 to get the answer.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and that's the whole idea here is we call it a bite-sized bundle because it's their way of
Smart.
trying you out. And the
Yeah.
reason we call it a bundle is because it's not just 27. You come in and we're like, but wait, did you want to get a blah, blah, blah? And we add on the next thing and there's 3 tiers and we will get people to spend between $50 and $60 coming in when they don't even know who we are.
Yeah.
So the bundle is the best part of like that upsell. And it really is, you don't have to feel bad or salesy. It's like, no, it's kind of like the end cap, like the end. You go to Target and you see all the things, or I
Damn
always say
things
like
at the end of the store, at the end of
the
the aisle.
checkout, you're
Yep.
like, chapstick, sure, 3 more, gum, sure. Like you're just
Yeah.
throwing everything in and
Yep.
you're not mad at Target. Well, maybe you are that you're like, please don't put the Cheetos by the counter, but you're like, great, I do want this, right? Like throw it
Yeah.
add it to the cart. And that's what we see. And yes, it is I mean, we're literally attracting cold, and really Facebook ads is almost 100% cold. And then the people that are coming warm and internally are just people that are messaging the team saying, I want to get back in the next one. And then we're sending them the link directly.
So great, Stacy. So valuable. I mean, this interview alone is just so good. So
Thank
many great
you.
takeaways. Listen, I know you have 2 kiddos that are coming home from school, and I would
Yes.
definitely want to respect your time. But will you please tell us about the book that you put out last year?
Yeah.
Because I think that everyone needs to learn
Yes.
how to unlock the secrets to getting it all done. The implementation code. First of all, Stacy, can we get it all done? Can you?
Oh, never.
Okay.
That's the big secret. It won't happen. The
Okay.
end. Like you can be done with the book,
The
right?
book is done.
The book
Yep.
is done. Yes. But it's funny because people really try to, like, I know what people want and they do want to get it all done. Right. So
Yes.
I'm very specific about my messaging and it gets people excited. But the reason I wrote it is because I've had to get really good these last 19 years of understanding, like, the to-do list with all the things will never be done. And you have to be okay with walking out of this office with a list of things you still have to do. And you have to get good at closing the laptop, going into the living room or the kitchen or wherever wherever you work. If you're in an office, coming home, you have to get good at leaving it and knowing that it'll be there tomorrow. And
Yeah.
that is not easy.
It's not easy, but it is important to have some sort of
Absolutely.
quality of life. I will say, come 5 o'clock, I close it down. I am
Mhm.
mom. And, every once in a while, I got to sneak back on my phone, but
Yeah.
not often. I mean, I've really
No,
learned to shut it down. And that is hard because the list is still there. But I also have just come to terms with it's just always going to be there. And
you
I need to
have
spend
to.
time with my kids, like,
Yeah.
especially having a baby last year. It's like I have to be present for them.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
I think we all, like, if you're listening and you're thinking, shoot, Carrie does this, Stacy does this, I do not do this. Here's the thing. I didn't always do this. I
Yeah. Me
was
neither.
putting
Yeah.
kids to bed and getting back in the computer and having
Me
my computer
too.
in my bedroom. I would work and I'd close it and then it would be sitting next to my bed and I would wake up in the morning. I have been there and I'm sure Carrie, you've been there too.
I have.
Right.
Yes.
So it's realizing that that is a hamster wheel that you have to get off. You
Yeah.
have to, because you will never get it all done. You will never reach a moment where you feel like, no, I really do feel good about the business and I think I can slow down now. You will never say that. There
Yeah.
will always be something else that you can be striving for.
Absolutely. Yes. So in the book, what can I
Yeah.
expect? More of this
Yes.
conversation? Do you give us some like practical tips on really how to do
Yes,
that?
definitely. So, prioritization and really helping you figure out how to prioritize, what that looks like. We talk about, getting it all done, implementing that overconsumption and under implementation. We
Yep.
get real good at listening to all these amazing podcasts. Before you go and listen to another one of Carrie's amazing podcasts, I want you to take a moment, get pen and paper out, and ask yourself, what are you going to do because of the podcast you just heard?
Yes.
And then you have to say, and when am I going to put it on my calendar to implement
By
that
when?
strategy?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, so many times we're overwhelmed because we just keep consuming all these new ideas and they're amazing, right? Like one amazing guest after another with another new strategy that you just heard and you want to do all the things. And it's really time to prioritize like what actually is going to move the needle. Right. And then it's another thing of, I think people get really upset when things don't work, right? So we think this should happen faster, this should happen
Oh yeah.
sooner.
Oh yeah.
I must not be doing it right. And I talk a lot about in the book about refinement and how it's like the
Mm.
missing piece that people forget exists in the business world. You learn about something, you start doing it, and it's not did it work, did it not? It's time to refine, time to rinse and repeat,
Yes.
and knowing what that truly looks like. And then it's getting a maintenance plan in place to make sure it can happen without you.
Oh, so valuable. It's funny. I'll be out on a walk and I will think about that.
Yeah.
It's like inspired living has grown to where it is. What would happen if I was out for a month or something?
Yeah.
That's the conversation I think of now in my own head. The conversation
Yes.
between Carrie and Carrie is,
Yes.
how do I safeguard this company, and
Mhm.
allow it to keep moving, even with the great team that I do. There are things
Yeah.
that you and I do that are things that I'm assuming only we feel that we can do,
Yeah.
but the maintenance, how do
It
you
really
keep it
is.
going? Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a good
And I
question.
think my studios right now, I've realized they're on maintenance and they really are chugging along. But because I was missing the visionary and I've been checked out of the visionary role, at least pre-COVID,
Sure.
there hasn't been like expansive growth. We've been very stable and growing like little bits and pieces. And we're at 1,000 students and our numbers look great.
So
But
good.
I mean, we used to go from 100 to 300, 300 to 500, right? We're like, the missing piece was I left the visionary role and didn't replace myself.
Yep. Yep.
So you have to put the maintenance plan into place. And I was like, oh no, they're good. It's like, no, they can keep and maintain what I've been doing, but how do they maintain the growth that we once had? And that was where it was like the biggest aha 19 years in after this pandemic of we've got some changes to make if I want this thing to not just survive without me, but really thrive and leave a legacy,
Yep.
right? Continue to
Yep.
run without me.
Yep. So true. Such a great lesson. And thank you for sharing all that you
Yeah.
have. I mean, this is such a juicy episode. There are so many great takeaways. If someone wants to get in touch with you, Stacy, how do they do that?
Yeah. So if you want to grab the book is still free. You just pay for the shipping. And it's a physical copy of it. You can go to implementationcode.co/free book.
And we'll
And
make sure we
then
have the link here too.
perfect. And
Yep.
then I would say my podcast, Foot Traffic, is a great place to start. Again, we don't just teach brick and mortar. We definitely are giving foundational business principles that we use in both of our businesses. And then anywhere online at Stacy Tuschl.
I love it. Well, you said something too but when it comes down to online or brick and
Yeah.
mortar, the business foundation doesn't really change.
It doesn't.
It doesn't change. So learning
Mm-mm.
these principles, go listen to her podcast. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And if you haven't noticed, Stacy's pretty amazing. So she's definitely someone you want to stay in contact with. And I'm also going to say, connect with us on Instagram,
Yes.
leave a comment. Like, we love hearing from you. We want to know your takeaways. We want to know what you're going to implement. And we're excited for you. So please let us know if this episode has inspired you in any way and what you're going to do next. Stacy, before I let you go, I want to know, what does inspired living mean to you?
Mm. I think just waking up excited with a purpose. Like I can tell the difference when I have something to look forward to that day or I'm just feeling burnt out. And there is nothing better than waking up without an alarm and being excited to get up for my day and to get started and to really make that difference. So,
Yeah,
so good. Carrie, thank you
I
for
know.
having me. Like you're amazing. Such a
Thank
big
you.
fan of you. Thank you
Well,
so much for all you
if
do.
you want to get rid of your alarm, I'll let you borrow Landon for a little while. He's up at 5:30, girl. You will
Hey,
never need alarm again.
we just got a puppy, so my puppy likes to get up at 4:45 right now. I'm like, "Oh no,
Oh
this is
no.
not a." Because we're done with the baby stage. I'm like, "I finally have sleepers and now
Yeah,
puppy." Yeah,
the
no.
puppy. Well,
Yes.
God bless you, sister. Well, thank you for your time. You're an amazing
Thank you.
woman, and congratulations on your success. And I can't wait to see you soon.
Yes, thank you.
You've just heard another uplifting episode of Inspired Living with Carrie Murphy, the podcast. I hope you loved it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you'd like to know more about Inspired Living or to get your hands on many of our awesome free resources, such as the Be Studio Ready Guide, simply visit us at inspiredliving.tv/podcast. Remember, your vision is your destiny, and we're here to help you bring it to life. Join me again next week for another extraordinary episode.